Welcome everyone to a more timely and state-of-the-art live stream here. As a service for you, I wanted to summarize the Computex 2022 keynote from AMD this morning. One thing, because it's of course relevant for our stuff, for our epic thread-ripping Linux open source compilation stuff here, and also because honestly I find these keynotes, I said this before, at Intel as well, even the new Apple ones, certainly the Steve Jobs ones were a little better, a little bit boring, because honestly half of the stuff is only we shipped so much stuff, we are the greatest, performance, faster than the competition, yada yada. So that is basically the first half of this live stream here. But otherwise they of course announced lots of amazing stuff, namely Zen 4. As you see here, let's just switch to that here. So what are the major, and also ironically they start with the, for me, less interesting notebook mobile stuff, which is a little bit ironic, to be honest. But yeah, let's start with the more interesting stuff, with the more high performance stuff. So 5 nanometer PC processor cores, world's first, of course, everything is usual, world's first, of course. And let me just reposition here some. How do we, maybe that. So yeah, they started with AM4, 5 years, 5 CPU architectures, 4 process nodes, 125 plus CPUs and stuff. But then Zen 4, the new latest and greatest, coming later this fall. And so what did they do? They, first of all, it is 5 nanometer, as you see here. And they also doubled the caches, so performance, where does it come from? Double, previous video last year, double the buffers and caches. Stupid, so now new 2 times the cache, 1 megabyte per core L2 cache. And in total, most likely that means caches, higher boost frequencies, and a little bit, probably not much, I guess from what I see, very little IPC instructions per clock improvements. They say greater than 15% single thread performance increase, but that is most likely the combination of double the caches and a little bit better boosting. They say 5 plus gigahertz max boost, so most likely, knowing AMD from the last years, most likely that means just around 5 gigahertz. I wouldn't expect that much. Also boost, right? So it's probably single, not that much other multi-core boost. Otherwise, they say AI acceleration, they didn't say much more. And I want to add what I've heard from the industry that is not yet confirmed. When they said this, I immediately was thinking, I hope that's bfloat 16, floating point 16-bit precision stuff for AI. And that is also what I hear in the industry, right? So there are industry rumors that is not yet confirmed as far as I know from AMD, because why would they say this in the keynote, right? The rumors are AVX512, which for me is not the most important, but bfloat 16 is exactly what I was thinking when they say AI acceleration. Otherwise, so that is, I think, the cores. Otherwise, it's still for the consumer part 3 die max, although now apparently double the core, so that is apparently IO die plus 2 CCXs, and that they sounds like they doubled that, meaning that most likely, apparently we get a now 16 core, wait a second, did they, no, we had this already. Actually, got a little bit distracted there. I need to double check that. Anyway, so yeah, 16 core 32 threads, apparently, actually I thought they doubled it, but apparently not. Anyway, scratch that. So the new socket, of course, AM5, everyone knew that already for months. 1718 pins LGA, lane grid array instead of from previously pin grid array. DDR5, PCIe 5, exactly what everyone expected and was partially already announced or leaked. Of course, catching up there in part with Intel. Of course, Intel was a little bit faster with DDR5 for that performance improvements. Again, not the biggest performance improvements, but of course that is any performance adds up, right? 10% there, 10% there at the end. Quite some stuff adds together. Will not be the biggest, but of course the next year's memory obviously much higher performance improvements expected there. Apparently AM4 coolers fit, that is a nice move. Not like other competitors often changing coolers every other year, so that you need to get new brackets and or new coolers. And in some unexpected move, RDNA2 GPU cores are now always included in the I/O die. I didn't expect that, and ironically they say it's only AMD said it's like in their keynote, it's like for testing, it's like, yeah, but honestly most people like don't test so much, right? But they also mentioned, I think, office workloads, and that's exactly what I was thinking. At first I was thinking, yeah, why a waste of RDNA2 silicon? But truth be told, most office systems, most people, even I myself, most of the time, like 99% of the time, I don't need a fancy additional GPU. For me, freaking text terminal is enough, right? And so that means for enthusiasts at home, you don't need to save and wait for just another GPU if just some good old-fashioned text UI. I mean, sure, you can game, just not 4K and stuff. Like if some 720p gaming or so, or maybe 1080p gaming is enough for you. But for me, for display outputs, that is certainly nice to have HDMI 2.1, I think, or DisplayPort 2. And for displays is of course way more than most people run, obviously. 5. So the CPUs are 5 nanometer, the I/O die 6 nanometer, if my notes are correct here, and they improve their strangely calculated TDP of ambient and whatnot, and not matching any wattage in reality, but that is improved to 170 watt, meaning we could see quite some performance improvements there for the highest SKUs. Chipset wise, which also we probably see there. Right now, 2 chipsets. My understanding is the X670E Extreme thing there is mostly the same, more like an advertising label for the amount of PCIe lanes and stuff. Otherwise, for the entry level B650, the new I/O die and AM5 Zen 4 CPUs currently have 24 PCIe lanes, 14 USB, 20 gigabytes per second, and somehow Wi-Fi is now integrated somewhere, probably in the chipset, I would hope. I personally never use Wi-Fi on my workstations, but probably some home users, probably, I guess lots of home users, like non-enthusiast home users probably use Wi-Fi. I personally never use it on my workstations, but yeah. It's there you have it for display outputs. And they talk, this is a set thing where I also summarize this. So I guess some informations like bfloat 16 and AVX512 for you that you might not otherwise hear. And otherwise, I find it a little bit sad that, for example, they didn't get into these details, right? Like, what is this AI acceleration that they mentioned there somewhere? And also this smart access storage for offloading, asset decompression and loading and stuff. And this is a little bit sad from my perspective as a computer scientist and programmer, that they don't disclose there any more details, like it's just some magic stuff. Somehow I would really appreciate, instead of they used technical, like it's not like an, I mean, and that is a thing, right? It shouldn't be in YouTube advertising video. They certainly can run ads independently of that. But I really wish this, like after the PC personal computer is like 40 plus years or something, that in 2022 we get some keynote presentations like die-hard technical details of like bfloat 16, AVX512, or how the smart access storage actually works internally, which component is computing this, or where it's implemented. I mean, or what kind of driver? Is it just driver trickery? Is there what kind of microcode or processors? Where does it live? What is it exactly doing? It's like, and that is my problem with this modern stuff of presentations and reviews. It's always like some magic stuff, and only their programmers and maybe Linux driver implementers later know what exactly this stuff is actually doing. Otherwise, they in this 60% of the video, they praised their Ultrathin gaming stuff, 16mm thick and stuff. That is, yeah, basically half of the time was advertising. And otherwise, the only other thing that was also announced was 6 nanometer Mendocino or so APU for cheap everyday laptops and Chromebooks for 4-core 8-thread Zen 2. And that's a little bit crazy stuff where I always wonder, why do they still produce Zen 2? Would it not make more sense to base some cheap entry-level stuff on their same technology like Zen 3, Zen 4? But probably it is, I mean, for one thing, using old, but 6 nanometer is not that old. This is a little bit strange to me. Or do they intentionally, why do they still use Zen 2 for a 2022 entry-level APU? Do they intentionally need to use that so that the performance level is another 15% lower than latest and greatest stuff? Because otherwise, surely in 6 nanometer they could have chosen any other more modern core. That is a little bit strange. Or saving, I mean, yeah, sure, an older core probably saves like a square millimeter of die space, but that is a little bit strange, to be honest. So that's basically the summary. In reality, if you take the 60% marketing stuff away, not that extremely much to see. Oops, also wrong focus. But certainly all the performance stuff nice to see, nicely taken. I'm certainly looking forward to more performance improvements here, and keep you up to date when the stuff is out. Yeah, as I mentioned in the beginning, out this fall, so still, and knowing AMD, it's probably another 6 months. We probably will be lucky, especially with how the component shortages and stuff go, and lockdowns in China with their zero COVID craze. I wonder if they can hold this date, and if then we probably only see some overpriced low volume stuff before Christmas is my expectations. Otherwise, or yeah, like it was with Zen 3. For the laptop part, it is crazy that they praised there also some ThinkPad set that's not even shipping in those reasons that I checked today. And otherwise, in general, I was the whole of last year waiting for this Lenovo ThinkPad. What was it? Was it Zen 3 based stuff, which only shipped in the US and not European countries in very small quantities, I guess. So the crazy stuff is they praised their shipments here, worldwide SKUs and shipments. They're probably somewhere where they're amazing and stuff. And in reality, I was waiting the whole year, but couldn't get some. So availability, it's like, yeah, 24% growth. And, I mean, growth from low numbers, and otherwise I was waiting the whole year for Lenovo SKUs that never materialized. Anyway, hope you found this interesting and learned something. Otherwise, would be amazing if you share, like, and subscribe. And I hope to see you soon for more interesting code and stuff to come.